All right, this is the types of mass movement. So here's a nice little chart that pretty much breaks it down into like two major categories. So if it's a free falling motion, meaning that something is just falling off, then we call it a fall. And then depending on the what has fallen, it's if rocks fell, it's a rock fall. Or we have soil fall if soil fell, although that's really rare because soil is um, well, what I call sticky. Um, let's see. If it stays in contact with the surface below, then it's either a slide or a flow. So here's an example of a slide where it's like this whole chunk is just sliding on like a slide. Here's one of a flow where it's not necessarily like the whole chunk is sliding down, but a whole bunch of little pieces are sliding down this surface. And then it lists some examples of pyroclastic flows, debris flows, earth flows, mud flows, and lahars. So again, it's just kind of what is it that's flowing. If it's debris, we call it a debris flow. If it's a mud, we call it a mud flow. But they're all really the same thing, just different types of or different size particles, other than the pyroclastic flow, which is volcanic, and the lahar, which is a volcano-induced mud flow. Um, Creep is so slow you don't even know it happens. Like eventually you might see like uh changes in a fence or like the trees maybe will start leaning or something, but it's so slow you don't even notice it. Um, Solid fluxion is the same thing over an impermeable material. So if it's like creeping over like maybe a rock layer, and that gives it that surface to slide on, then that's fine. Falls just fall off. They're not always in contact with the ground. And then there's rock falls, which is when the rock falls. And talus is the pile of rubble, where it's fallen to at the base of the cliff. Here's some pictures of rock fall. So here's a rock fall. This is the talus. And then here you don't really see the rock fall, but you see the talus. And so all of this has fallen from this cliff here. That's all talus material. Types of mass wasting. Again, we have rock slides here. So you can see where like this smooth surface and how it's just naturally jointed right there, that just makes it perfect. Where it's not really vertical enough, if this was standing straight up and it were to fall off, it would be a rock fall. But because it's uh dipping or tilted back just enough, it would just kind of slide down that planar surface right there. Um, so slides are mass wasting in which the thing that is sliding or falling remains in contact. There's rock slides, movement along a plane, and that plane can either be from a fracture, a bedding surface, or a zone of chemical weathering. So some kind of weakness. Um, Maybe have a weak shale right there, or if it's been weathered, then it's weak, but it kind of makes like a little slippery surface. This one here is from fractures, these joints here that it's showing. Slumps also stay in contact with the underlying surface the entire time, um, and often have a rotational component, meaning that like um, let me see how to draw this. And if this is going to slump down, then it kind of moves. This comes down and it slumps down and it kind of rotates so that I did that. Let me do that. Kind of rotates when it does it, like in this kind of motion. So that really this comes up and this comes down so that it kind of slumps. So it's kind of like, and then that comes up. And you'll see these little like toe bulges here. and the scarp here, and to help you identify, if this is old, that was some kind of mass movement. Okay. Um, Flows are kind of like slumps, but faster and much more dangerous. Um, and like it says, moves in a chaotic fashion. These usually happen when there's been like a lot of rain or flooding of some kind, and it comes down very, very quickly. So again, depending on what it is, it's either an earth flow or a mud flow or a debris flow, or they can be called debris avalanches. So an avalanche is a type of flow, but snow instead of rock. Um, Debris flow, we use this when it's like, especially for water saturated flow. These things look like walls of water coming at you, but there's so much stuff in that water, just all this soil and rocks in the water that it's just like this wall of mud coming at you. Um, Debris flows, you can have vegetation, other material, anything it picks up, anything that water picks up. And they usually come down like a ravine or canyon or something, almost like a natural waterway, but just in so much. Um, I should have gotten a video and added this for you, but like Google like debris flow video and you'll find it. And it does look scary. Here are some pictures of after the fact. I would like you to Google a video of it happening, of these debris flows and what they look like. Uh, Here's an aftermath of an earth flow. So you can kind of see these are all different individual, well, maybe they could be individual flows, or it could just be one thing, but this is what we call hummocky landscape, just kind of this ripple, bumpy landscape, and that's a common that you find with landslides, earth flows, slumps. Here's a picture. So it's not a video, but here's a picture of a debris flow coming down. So again, it comes down this like canyon here, and it'll start coming this way where the water naturally wants to go. And it's just a lot of material flowing like water. Well, because there's so much water in there. And that is it for managing landslides. Oh, and the stickiness of soil, the word finally came to me, cohesion. So if you add a little bit of water to the soil, it becomes more cohesive, which really just means like sticky. It's gonna stick together better.